He's in the U.S. Navy as a chief, or what are you? Chief.
Chief.
Navy chief. So he works out at Port Hueneme, and he's here to talk to us today. Please welcome, with his speech entitled "Fear Less," is our fearless leader, Ron Shockley.
Fear, something we can all relate to. But where does it come from? This recommends a traumatic experience. Think about it, a car crash, a broken bone, an unexpected death, a traumatic experience has a great impact on us. And we spend the rest of our life fearing those things that happen, that it could happen again. We protect ourselves. Say it was a broken bone, we remember exactly how it happened, and we won't do that again. A death of a family member really makes us be awake to the fact that we need to share our feelings. We need to share those things that happen. It's a really traumatic thing, and we have that fear that it's going to happen to us again. Now, how often does that same thing happen again? Or how many times does fear handcuff us and not allow us to do the things that we would really enjoy to do, but we're scared to? We're reserved, we step back, and we play life a little safer. We talked before, when we're young, we're pretty fearless. I've told this story before, jumping off the roof. The last thing that I ever had in mind was I was going to break my arm. Well, I'm not going to jump very far today because I think, getting a little old, don't want to hurt myself, don't recover quite as fast as I used to, so I'm reserved because I have a little bit of that fear. So what does fear do to you? You have that traumatic experience, then you have that fear. When fear is not dealt with, what does it grow into? When fear is not dealt with, it grows into worry. So you start to worry about things that could happen. You have that traumatic experience, now you have some fear. Fear develops into worry. And worry takes you into different places. And what's worry cause when it's not dealt with? It causes stress. So you have the traumatic experience, you have the fear, you have the worry, and then the stress. Each time it continues to get a little bit worse, and a little bit worse, and a little bit worse. When it's not dealt with, it continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So let's take a look at fear. What is fear? Fear is an emotion induced by a perceived threat. Is it real? We've all heard Zig Ziglar say that fear is false evidence appearing real. So again, fear, nothing real there, but it's something that we are in reserve because we're concerned that it's going to happen again. So how do you overcome fear? Well, fear causes limiting beliefs. Just like the fear that you're all going to laugh at me when I get up here and speak, makes me really consider, what am I going to say? Probably not so much in Toastmasters. However, in the business meeting, when you're called upon to give your input, you get the cotton mouth, and even though you knew exactly what you were going to say before they called upon you, those thoughts flee your mind, and now you have that fear, concerned, I'm not prepared, they're not going to listen to what I say, all of those things. Is that true? Or is that something that we make up in our own mind? 9 times out of 10, that's something we make up in our own mind. There might be 1 or 2 people there that really don't care what you have to say, but 98% of them, they do, or they wouldn't call upon. So how do we overcome those fears? Well, let me grab fear. There might be some loud noises, just to let you know. You didn't want to surprise you, don't want anybody to have a heart condition. But you overcome fear by taking action. So whatever it is that you are feared, as you step to it, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And the thing that you thought was humongous really wasn't that big a deal. It didn't hurt. The second time you did it, you were more prepared. you didn't get hurt, you knew what to avoid, you knew what to look out for. So when you step towards fear, it goes away. Now when you don't deal with fear, then you start to worry about things getting worse. And what is worry? It's mental attempts to avoid anticipated potential threats. There's a lot of words there. Anticipated. Murray talked about anxiety. It's really a lot of the same thing. Anxiety is something that you anticipate happening, and maybe it never does. I've had friends that had anxiety attacks. I've never actually had that problem, and I couldn't understand how they do. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Robert talked about the human being is the only one where their mind can attack them and actually kill them. That's where we think ourselves to death. And that's a very good point, and it's also something that came up as I studied this week, and we talk about anxiety. That's where your body starts attacking you. You think things are going to happen that doesn't actually happen. So how do you deal with worry? Well, first, let's talk about the outcomes of worry. When you're worried about something, you're very distracted. When you're distracted, are you more likely to have something happen? You are, because you're not paying attention to what you should. You have a lack of focus. Do you accomplish much when you're worried? You don't, because you don't have any focus. So again, you're distracted, you don't have any focus, you're worried about something happening. Are you able to move forward? You're not. And you have a lack of productivity. So how do you conquer worry? Well, you conquer worry by doing your homework, by becoming prepared. Get informed, practice. And Toastmasters is the perfect place to practice that speech. And see, you even knew it was coming. So again, by doing your homework, whatever that thing is that concerns you, normally it's due to a lack of education. We don't fully understand it, and that's why we are so concerned about it. The more we learn about it, or the more we find somebody who's really good at it, and we get close to them, we watch them do it, we think, man, that's really not that hard. Jumping out of an airplane for the first time this year. I haven't done it yet. However, it's not something I'm going to just go do. I'm going to do some research, and the first time I jump, I'm going to jump tandem, so somebody else pulls the string. Really, there's nothing that I can do wrong, because I'm going to put my security in somebody else's hands. So again, do your homework. Become informed and practice. Just like we talk about in Toastmasters, you get up here and practice in a safe environment, where we're going to tell you what you did right. We're going to tell you a few things you could improve upon, and we're going to encourage you. That's the nice thing about Toastmasters, a safe place to practice before you get on the job and you have to give a presentation, and they're not always going to say something nice. They're not always going to encourage you. And stress. If you don't deal with the fear and take action, the worry takes over, and it leads to stress. Stress is the brain's response to a perceived situation. So worry is still something that we're in control of. Stress, we become not so much in control. The brain takes over, and that's your defense system. Stress heightens your awareness, but how long can you live that way? It's good when you have that traumatic experience, and now that you're on edge, but how long can you live on edge? The longer that you're stressed, the more run down you are. How many times have you been awake at night, not able to sleep, because your mind is running 5,000 miles, worried about something else that might happen tomorrow or next week, or who knows? Your mind is running away with itself. How much control do you have at that point? That's the point where you need to learn to seek help. Stress impacts a person's mental and physical well-being. It's where we talked about the brain attacking itself. So when you stress over those things, it's going to wear you down. You're not going to be as alert. You're going to be tired. Those things are really going to wear upon you. And that's the point where you need to seek help. Find a relief or an outlet. Everybody's relief or outlet are different. A mental or a physical relief. I know for some of my traumatic experience, I'm a typical guy. I don't like to talk about my feelings. But you know, when I went through that divorce, that was the only thing that helped. And I didn't do it willingly. I had good friends. I was, Ron, let's take a walk. Ron, let's have a talk. And that was what got me through. It was the good friends, and it was the talk that got me out there. Also, other things that you can do. Exercise is a great way to relieve stress. Or just being outside, maybe at the beach, taking a walk on the beach, taking a walk through the woods, listening to the birds. Great things to help you relieve that stress. My challenge to you. First, take an account of what your fears are. The easiest way to overcome them is to recognize them. Until you recognize them and look at what has caused that fear. I have a fear of dogs. I got attacked by a dog when I was younger. So I don't care how small the dog is. When he barks, I walk the other way. I don't care how big he is either. And he could be the nicest dog rubbing up against you. I walk away because I still have that fear. Explore your resources. Not sure how I'm going to come over that. I like cats. Maybe that's why I like cats, because I had a traumatic experience with a dog. But explore your resources. Where can you go to relieve that fear or that worry or that stress? And lastly, take action. Step into it. Educate yourself. Practice. Do those things to help you overcome that. I'll end with a quote. Fear is only a thought that haunts your mind, and you can either feed it or defeat it. The choice is yours. Mr. Toastmaster.
That's okay. I'll take care of it for you.
Okay. Defeat stress first.
Please take a moment and write a comment to Ron. You can use the top